getting everything set up. What's up, Uriah Wright? How you doing today, my guy? We got 7 minutes or so. 7 minutes, and then the chapter comes out. We're gonna be seeing what goes on in this setup. I really just feel like it's gonna be Lucy just flexing, cause that's something we haven't had for her in a long time. I say the last time really you could have Lucy flexing was the Grand Magic Games with Flair, but Flair was cheating, so it was interrupted. Shouldn't Cheeky take the revenge on Mueller away from him? I feel like everybody, though, has just a general right to attack Mueller. It's weird that Jin didn't get the attack, though. I don't know. My belief, though, legitimately, is that Mishima's going to have Mueller come back again somehow, because he seems to really like just using the character. And I get it. Like, he's interesting for the general use of a pure evil bad guy. Grandman just working on my project. Oh, is it like a school project or work project? I got so distracted because I was looking at like a picture of like it had something to do with DSP, and it's like it's funny because there are people on the internet that I've never followed or watched their content, but I know a good chunk of their lore. So whenever stuff around it comes out, I end up just being like, all right, new update. Like DSP is just such a weird character study. Then Jirai killed Itachi instead of Sasuke. Not necessarily the same thing. Jirai and Itachi Jirai and Sasuke are not even remotely close in the same group. Whereas at least they're in the same protagonist group. It's just kind of weird because my belief is Mishima is saving like Jin's to be like an actual big final battle or something, to be like something that's built up for Jin. Because it's weird that he acknowledges it, but he doesn't follow up with it. Is why. But like, let me go back and see the Eden Zero chapter, because it was the same thing where Mueller was defeated, but it's not shown that he's dead, right? It just didn't show, like, you know, a corpse or, like, you know, his head exploding. Anything that proves he was dead. Because my belief is that he does stuff like that. Like, if it's not a full kill, it's like, it's one of those times where this guy's going to get away and then he's going to have other plans. Like, yeah, his robot face comes off, but that's it. Like, we don't see him fully destroyed. And we know, too, the robots have a core that you have to destroy. And it's like, it immediately goes to afterwards events, you know, after Mueller's defeated by them. That's why I feel like there's going to be some weird follow-up to it. Because Mishima has everything that isn't directly hit by Black Sky pretty much just destroyed, except his face. So I feel like there's something around his general setup that he's going to have Mueller come back. I don't know. Because out of all the villains in Eden Zero, Mueller's the only one that Mishima has really kind of talked about in length. Generally, like, I don't think that's true at all. Jin's great. The thing is, like, Jin is a character, he's like Elfman, except he's poised in a more direct plotline, like, position, to where him having further additional stuff in the series is a lot more likely. Alice, like, I know that your whole thing is I'm negative the person, but it gets annoying, my guy. Come on, you don't gotta just hate on characters just because they haven't had a scene in 10 minutes. Like, we're clearly getting some Rebecca stuff. Like, Jin doesn't need to really be directly involved. This seems to have more to do with, like, the current events. Once we get to, like, the actual big battle, then we're going to be seeing characters and events branch out further. Like, Mishima's doing... It's not the same thing, but it's kind of like when Haru and Ellie went in the past, and it was pretty much just them. It didn't have any of the other members of the main cast. Dr. Schneider... he was okay. So far, I mean, to be honest, right now, out of Mishima's scientist characters, I think Duke might be the... Like, unless you count Zeref, but I don't count Zeref just because he's using magic to create things. Like, I'm looking more of, like, I guess, yeah, because alchemy is closer to science. So any of those, like, mad scientist guys, so far, I like Duke the most. Just because he's, like, Mishima usually has that role go to, like, a lackey or, like, a weird guy. I'm happy to see, like, it on a actual competent, dangerous villain so far. I've enjoyed that for sure. No, I'm pretty sure whenever we get him next, we're gonna have him actually fight. Like, whenever he gets his, like, main battle of this, like, I guess final battle of the series. Because my guess is Mishima will have all of the main cast members' forms and overdrive advance at least one more level, since Shiki's is, like, what, like 2 levels now positioned for him. Oh, I gotta turn this down. Like, that generally happens. Like, I like Overdrive. It's really weird, though, to kind of compare it to anything else directly, because Overdrive, it's really hard to say. It's like, I guess, like, maybe, like, post-Super Saiyan levels of Super Saiyan. Like, it's like, if it was, the main starting point started more at 1, but it's like, apparently, this, like, higher-end version that Shiki got in his fight with Shura, it's, like, essentially, like, the real power. Because I've always, it's always to me looked like other characters' versions of Overdrive didn't look complete. Because the first one we saw was what, like a full Overdrive was Draken Joe. And it altered his whole body, whereas like other characters are getting aspects of him, and then like their ether lines are only going so much of their body. But as we saw characters get stronger, the ether line progression advanced, and there was additional bits in their abilities. One thing, too, that I noticed in the anime that Mishima, like, I wonder if, like, how intentional it was, is the dark gravity, obviously, is the purple color, and the green is, like, true gravity, because that's what Xenolith was using. So, what's with the red, and then where is Mishima going to take the end? Because my guess is there'll be one more color. Obviously, Shiki 4 seasons, I think there'll be 4 colors. And my guess is maybe the one that he used, like the Ziggy route one, is going to be the real one. And his color is going to be like, you know, what would be a good color on Shiki? I think the green is the best one. Like, I think if Shiki gets any other colors, it should be like a Berserk form. I feel like every main character really needs like a Berserk scene, even if it's only once. And then have him go back to green. I mean, I'm cool with purple, but I just want to know exactly where he goes. All right, the chapter should be out. I'm not going to look at any of the comments until after the chapter is read. So we're obviously, like, the first thing we see is the Brandish on the cover. I mean, high quality. The opposite battle is the name of the chapter. We just got Brandish on the cover. She's hanging out with a cat. She's just chilling. Nothing crazy from Brandish. I mean, I feel like that's what would be expected of her, though. Like, hers is... Like, if you had all the characters, like, in some weird out-of-verse meta, and they're like, all right, guys, we're taking a picture today. What exactly are you going to do for the cover? Brandish is just like... Listen, I'm just going to sit down. Like, there's a nice wall right there. You can look at the wall through the window. So she's in, like, eastern Giltina in a town called Dunasa. I think that's actually pretty cool. So she's just generally out there just exploring, seeing stuff, doing her own thing. Dude, there's the monthly wizard journalists there. Like, they're traveling, dude. They've got, like, a far-off foreign cover coming for their magazine. That's actually crazy to think about. I'm trying to think in my head, though. Because obviously we know Weekly Sorcerer is in Ishgal. But have we ever had any information of wherever their, like, headquarters is based out of? I know it's not important. I assume it's Ishgal just because if they're in Alakatasia, I feel like they would have a little bit different tone to them. Just because they're a more ruled militaristic empire. And then over in Giltina, it seems like alchemy is more so set than wizards. So I don't imagine there'd be Weekly Sorcerer over here. Oh, I'm getting my things mixed up. Isn't that it's monthly? The Weekly Sorcerer is the fucking fan website, right? See, I'm getting tripped up. So that she's just kind of chilling. Oh, her travel funds are running low. So she's just deciding to do some stuff. Even Brandish's pictures, she's not even, like, getting in a different outfit. She's just, like, she just kind of walked into a room and she's just kind of hanging out. And they're just, like, talking about her clothes. Like, I feel like her bikini outfit, though, because the way that Brandish is, she's not going to be somebody that's going to be, like, you know, in the Arctic. She's not going to go anywhere majorly cold. Everywhere that we've seen Brandish, that, like, she wants to be in seems way more warm. So I feel like her being essentially in like she's got her cloak cape coat thing. I don't really know it. I know she called it a coat, so I guess I could just call it a coat. I feel like some form of robe or cloak is more set. But really just having what's comfortable and then having a way to cover up that just in case, that's all she really needs, to be honest. But she just seems a little annoyed that he wouldn't bother her about it. But then obviously, I think from the end of the last chapter, she gets turned into Lucy. And the question is she's now deciding that she's going to go into this as Lucy. She's just being a troll right now. I hope that she's not too crazy about it. I actually think that's kind of funny because at this point, this means that Brandish much more so acknowledges Lucy, the fact that now she's going to do some more trolly stuff on her. Because we saw she did that a little bit when they were first introduced, but it was more so like she was doing it as a bully, whereas now it just seems like she sees the opportunity to mess with her. I think that's pretty funny. Because it shows a little bit of a mean side to Brandish, though, which I do like. I enjoy seeing just whenever Brandish does something additional. But Lucy now is Brandish. Gray knows, so Gray's aware. Gray's smart about it. He says, you know her powers, and she wants her to go get her. But it doesn't mean that they're for sure going to be able to go do it. Because just because you have a mentality of it doesn't mean you instantly have it. I imagine it's like, as long as you know the character, you know, like if you essentially decided to just emulate them as a person, and then used what you knew about their abilities, and then kind of just went off testing, especially somebody as smart as Lucy, and especially too Gray, because I imagine it'd be harder for Natsu, but like Gray, I feel like Gray should be able to figure out essentially being able to use the magic. Not crazy, but to a degree, pretty fast. But when she's saying like she has holder abilities and you have the more caster based stuff for Brandish, I don't think that's generally as much of an issue because like Lucy with Aranometria, it's more of like an incantation based spell, but it's still something you do based off knowledge of it and understanding of the power without having to use a conduit to do so. Yeah, Genai, Kotetsu, and Sai are just being like, all right, let's just handle these guys. Let's just do it. Kotetsu's design looks so much more interesting when we actually see it up close. Because like I thought he was wearing a scarf, but it looks like a full-on helmet. Okay, actually, this is really interesting. Hold on. So Gray goes to use his he goes to use Fire Dragon's Iron Fist, but it's too hot for him. But the thing is, like, that shouldn't be the case because Natsu's body would be completely immune to the fire. I'm wondering if this is an illusion or if it's something more of, like, in your mind. Because if they switch bodies, Natsu should, or, like, Gray with Natsu's body shouldn't even be bothered by fire at all. Like, the heat shouldn't really bother him. We just got some smoke alchemy. Okay, here we actually have something kind of cool. Hang on, I actually want to comment on this. So, Genai is using his smoke alchemy. He's pretty much just, releasing smoke from his big pipe, and it's just going around. But Kotetsu, like, swings his sword, but then uses alchemy on his sword to freely manipulate it, so it's like a whip sword. That's actually pretty cool. I like that a lot. And he's, like, manipulating into other weapons mid-swing. That's pretty cool. I think that's pretty neat. You know what's funny to think about is Mishima talked about this in, I think it's volume 1 of Rave Master, but he initially was going to have his main character, which was like early Haru, be an alchemist. Because if you read Magician, his main character was going to be a sorcerer, but then he switched over like in the idea of doing it to alchemy, but then switched that into the Ten Commandments sword and the power of Rave. So that's kind of neat that he's clearly had some of these ideas for a while. I wonder if when he was like thinking initially, he's like, because I remember he said that the attacks were too violent for like, the main character. So it's like, I wonder how many of these attacks he's had in his mind for a long time. So she doesn't have her keys, but it's like, you know how this power works. Like, you start practicing, start taking shots. Okay, so Gray took, this is Gray obviously like doing his thing. He's being smart about it. You have Steel coming at him. He ends up just going to block, melts with the body heat from Natsu. And so, like, is it just a thing of, like, he's just not understanding how to utilize any of his dragon powers? Or is it just, like, he's like it. I'm wondering how exactly like that works, because I feel like maybe we could get some more just general explanation on magic, but also like it might have some of the tricks to do with Sai's whole ability. Yeah, so he's just saying it was a mental thing. So start doing some cool stuff. I want to see her just do some absurd things, and these guys are like, oh fuck, because there's like normal magics and stuff you'd be able to think about. The same thing with alchemy, but once you get to the like more complicated and complex things, like being able to shrink somebody like internally and everything involved, which is going to be scary for like these alchemists and everything for them. One second. Okay, Lucy, hang on. So this was like a smart-ish idea. But clearly, this was not where to start. So she uses Command T, uses expansion, makes herself gigantic in the cave, and she's just crushing everything around her. Or I guess, well, no, I was gonna say cave, but it's like there's clearly a rock-like roof, unless they're just in a specific kind of cave-like room. Because I remember Purgatory, they had clouds, so I wonder if it's just where she's at. Oh, but it cleared all the smoke. Oh, this is kind of neat. Gray's using, like, he's using it essentially like using fire alchemy. So he's using, like, flame hammer. I think that's pretty cool. But, okay, this is what I was talking about. Okay, so there's, like, a rock roof involved. I wonder if we're going to see a little bit more of that while she's big. So this is what I was talking about. It's because these guys have like, alchemy is dangerous in, like, how you fight certain people. But there are going to be, like, compatibilities that even if you have, like, infinite stamina and you have alchemy at your disposal, so it's pretty much you can just keep fighting as long as you don't get damaged too much. But they have no way to counter Lucy just being gigantic. So she just turns into... I figured she would shrink them too and then step on them, because I figured shrinking them would be more difficult. But I guess it makes sense that, like... It does make more sense of just making yourself bigger if that takes less skill than shrinking like a specific target. But I figured Lucy was going to do a little bit more experimentation. I like that it wasn't just her, though. Like, Gray and her were both kind of involved trying this. But these guys were screwed the second Brandish was given a spot, because, like, these guys have no way to counter it. Like, I could imagine maybe Kotetsu, because he, like, turns to iron, or maybe, like, Ganai turns to smoke. But Sai is definitely done. There's no way Sai is surviving that. Well, I don't know about surviving, but there's no way that, like, I don't imagine that Lucy, like, Mishima's gonna have Lucy's punch kill Sai. But he's definitely not getting up after that. Like, Natsu tries to do, like... So, Natsu tries to do, like, an Ice Dragon roar, and then just, like, spits ice out his mouth. I figured an Ice Dragon one would be more of, like, a cold torrent of wind with just ice shards and stuff coming out, too. So he's doing the same thing. He's using Ice Make, but he's using in his style. He pretty much just makes, like, an ice orb around his fist and goes to punch. Gets set back to normal. Can we get that roar, please? Can we please get the roar? So she took all of them out. Like, it's what I've said. These guys are... Sai is 100% situational. Sai literally has only in certain case scenarios against certain people. His power is... He's a good support for an alchemist. Let's give him that. He's a good alchemy support guy. He's not a good fighter. We have Kotetsu. Kotetsu and Ganai's powers are very basic. The question I have, though, more so, is what is Duke going to pull out more of these dolls? Because I doubt he just has the two. I didn't expect these guys to last this long, though, which was pretty impressive for them. But one thing that actually is kind of funny is once they switch back, Lucy has the outfit that Brandish had set for her. So she's in, like, this, like, cat girl made, like, lingerie set. Dang, I was hoping we'd have a little bit, like, one more page just showing more for the fight between Natsu and Athena. But, you know, Lucy did end up pulling super clutch there. Like, I mean, this is what I expected her to do. I figured we would have a little bit more experimentation. But I'm happy to see that Gray wasn't like just pretty much standing around. He was trying to figure out the powers, and we saw a lot from them, especially from Gray, really, when you think about this chapter, of just gauging your opponent, gauging what's going on, and trying to figure out like what to do in a scenario where you're caught in a character's weird power. Because that's something that we don't get a ton of. Because usually it's like it's something that's more of a hard to fight offensive ability. Something like a status effect like this, where instead of just having Wendy fix it, it's like you have to deal with you have to deal with essentially how do we get around this mechanic. I think that's actually really good for just verse content, like anything to do with the overall series. But yeah, that was actually a pretty solid chapter. I actually liked it a lot. It went about how I expected, though. It wasn't essentially the only way that I think this chapter could have went poorly is if they got in this spot and we just got shit on essentially for a whole chapter. It's just Ganai and Kotetsu beating up on people that aren't experimenting and trying to figure out their powers. Because that was one of the things about it that was, like, the worry. Is, like, they weren't going to be able to do anything because, obviously, like, characters with different powers that are very different from each other aren't going to be able to utilize the effects the same way. But when it comes down to, okay, well, we know how this person's power sort of works. Okay, well, how are you going to work on utilizing that? You know, you do testing, and that was something that we got in the chapter, which I was very happy about. Because, like I said, it's when characters don't do like when there are things that I feel like are predictable, but in a good way. Like, for example, once we get like a full Sting and Rogue fight, their whole like, oh, we have this new thing that we're gonna reveal. Bam, they have white Shadow Dragon mode. Anybody I feel like who's paid attention to the series is going to know, like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, going into the fight, there's going to be people that guess that, too. And it's like, oh, if they're like, oh, we're going to reveal our new trump card, it's going to be obvious to, like, anybody paying attention and knowing the verse is like, oh, it's going to be something like they're going to have a mode for their white Shadow Dragon form after, Sting achieved a Dragon Force version back when they fought against Larcade. But it's like, it makes sense for them to, like, train on something like that over the past year versus, like, they just develop something completely new and unrelated. It's like the same thing with Laxus. Laxus ended up gaining control over the Red Lightning that he got during his fight with Wall. So, 100% logical for him as a character to do that. It's like, okay, well, how do I achieve this again? How do I get access to this? So, for a fight like this where it came down to, okay, are they going to pay more attention to compatibility? They're going to pay attention to what they know about these characters. I didn't want it to be like, oh yeah, they just get beat up and like they're not even really trying. Because that would have been more annoying to me. Because that's not what I was looking for. I want to see these characters actually put in the effort and being like, okay, well, what do I have to do in order to, to get a grasp on this person's power? Like, I think that would have been ridiculous if they didn't do anything to kind of support that. Because I don't think anybody really saw Psycho Tetsu and Ganai as, like, these, like, big, scary threat villains. Where can I read the new chapter? On K-Manga. It's their official simul release. It's, like, 99 cents for the chapter. But it's stuff like that would have, like, I feel like been anything to drag down the chapter. Because I don't think anybody really had any big hype on Kotetsu or Ganai. I don't think anybody had any, like, deep stocks in the ideas of their character. It had more to do with, like, how are Lucy and Gray going to go about these characters. And again, we didn't see anything from this chapter about the Signario sisters or with Jalal and God Serena. Gray is folder? Are you trying to say he's fodder? The fact Gray had the best performance in the whole chapter. What are you talking about? Like, the person that was gauging how this hacks worked into figuring out, like, what to do the most was Gray. Like, what are you talking about? Gray was the whole one about, like, oh, yeah, I fucked this up, but then I realized I was just in my head. And he took a real risk at taking that blade. Like, he could have easily gotten cut. I don't think it would have been that crazy though, because we know like Natsu's dragon body can pretty much withstand blades pretty well. We saw that back in the fight with Aragorn when Aragorn swung his scythe at him. It's really funny to me like that when you look at certain other main characters, and it's like they don't have either like when you look at certain styles, it's like a lot of physical fighters don't have as much experience when it comes to fighting. When it comes to fighting, I'm trying to words right now. How am I unable to process English? When it comes, like, physical fighters don't have as much experience when it comes to fighting swords characters or bladed characters, and then vice versa. A lot of, like, weapons characters don't have as much experience fighting hand-to-hand fighters. But Natsu's really well-rounded. He's been doing both and both since the start of the series. Urza and Jola fights are getting their own-ish chapters. Well, I assume that we're going to shift focus because the Natsu and Athena fight, I think, is going to be in the background a lot for these other ones. But it like events from that were bleeding into this fight. What would be really funny is if every single fight, something happened that somehow affected Natsu and Athena's fight. I think that would be really cool. Because think of it, it's like Duke. If every single time Duke like has a moment where it seems like he's not doing anything, he's actually setting something up, like, to really mess with Natsu. Like, if he's timed all these things, he's like, okay, well, I know Sai's going to do this thing, blah, 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 pretty early because he only has a couple moves, and he's already fought these guys before. Meanwhile, over here, and he's just, like, essentially, like, gauging each of these fights. Because they moved him, so I think it would make sense if they moved him into specific locations. Like, what if he wanted to get rid of God's Screen without having to actually fight him, so he put him against Jalal on purpose? But he's like, I can't have Urza really be involved anywhere in that because of certain things that she might help. And, like, you know, what if they end up destroying the body or the lacrima? She might, like, intervene with, like, one of her powers, and then he's got to do whatever extra. So he's just like, all right, well, all I got to do is I got to keep her distracted. Because the Signario sisters, the thing about them, again, is it's just their power is weird, and we don't have any set way for Urza, like, from her standpoint, how to combat it. Like, we don't have anything for her to say, like, oh, yeah, I know how to deal with this move. Like, this is going to be something that if I do this and this and this, I'll get the effect undone, and I'll be able to move to this area to try and gain ground and attack them. No, it has more to do with the fact that she has no real idea and how to just deal with, like, powers that she's never experienced before. Because so far, it's not like they can just do something and you're dead instantly. It's more to do with, like, as they alter and contain the world. It's like a better version of... it's like combining Misaki with Rusty Rose. Like, they'll figure it out, but I mean, geez. It's going to take them a hot minute. She's gonna be mad about that too. Like, Brandish, what the fuck? Brandish be like, well, I got paid, so I don't care. I imagine for her, it's like, for her, she's traveling, right? She's on a set vacation, but she ends up getting low on money, and she's like, all I have to do is pretty much just take a couple, like, stand around model shots. And then, bam, I get to, I get more money to continue my vacation. And then it's, like, set up to where it's, like, now she can do it without it even being her in the pictures. It's probably really funny to her in general. Think we'll see Viernes in this chapter? No, we did not see Viernes. Viernes is going to be something that I don't think we should see for a while. I think he should be very on the back burner until we really get to a specific point where his involvement, I feel like, is needed. I don't think we really need anything for him yet for it. What's up, though, Daniel? Nothing much. We're just talking about the chapter, just kind of go over the general setup of it. I thought that Gray actually did a really good back burner job because Gray was providing a lot of support, and on top of that, he's the one that helped Lucy figure out what to do with Brandish's magic. And I knew all she really needed to do was get big and just beat these guys up because they had no counter to that. Like, what exactly were they going to do just like against a giant fist. These guys, like, I imagine just based off of how they act, they haven't seen a ton of combat. Because when it comes down to something like dealing with a fresh opponent, you don't know anything about them. I would imagine really it has to do primarily on experience. Because you've already know, like, oh, well, this guy's an alchemist. I've dealt with, say it's like, oh, I've dealt with alchemists before. I know that they have, like, a couple types of abilities that involve altering your weapons or any ranged elemental things. Like, it's just anything that can give you an advantage of what you're going into versus just going in blindly and you have to pretty much think of it all on the fly. Dude, I'm hoping so bad that the anime looks good. I know there's like rumors of it being being weekly. It just depends on, one, how much time are they going to get ahead of that before they even release it? And then two, what exactly is their plan going to be for maintaining it? Like, if they just get super ahead to where they can animate it at a good pace and not have to worry about release dates, then good. I'm hoping they just make sure that the chapters, like events that are things that fans obviously really want to see, like hyped up, big example, we're going to see the Natsu versus Mertzphobia fight when it happens. But also, if they have to add content if they're going to do it weekly. And I think that it would be really cool to see them adding anything that, that it just generally improves the birth. Why can't we have just expansion on world building and events while we're out there? Side content that would be fun just to see. I think that it would be really easy just to add like little bits of like small side opponents, just little mini adventures they get involved with, or expanding upon the events that are already there. Like, what if they give Diablos a couple original characters that we didn't see? Branch's magic is OP. I know. We know that she has a very high-end complexity magic. Oh, the newest chapter's already out. It came out a half hour ago. Is Celine to be involved in this arc? Yeah, I think they're going to eventually come back. But we need a time where it would make sense for them to be involved in the story. Because right now, it's like if Celine and all Diablo showed up, they're going to be too OP. But also, like, we need to see what they're doing before they just show up. Like, I don't think they should just appear in the arc. I think it should be closer to where something is happening. Things are starting to shift. We see from their perspective what they're up to, how close they are to doing, finishing whatever they've got currently going on, and then setting up when are they going to turn around and come back. There's really not a filler every season. Like, the first filler is the shitty Daphne arc, but whatever. And there's really nothing in the anime until the Starry Sky arc and the Eclipse Spirit arc. And that's only 2 arcs in the entire anime. Like, there's really not much for, like, filler arcs. We have filler, but I mean, like, the filler is really just usually a couple episodes in between arcs. And a lot of the filler is just adapted from already canon material. Like, there's like, filler, but there's a lot of stuff that just already existed. Four seasons, Shiki 70. That's not a thing. I mean, I don't think Shiki's going to have, like, 4 gravities. I think it's just going to be Shiki with, like, an ultimate color. I was at the store the other day, and, you ever have those times where it's like you want to buy something, but you're like, if I buy this, I know this is going to be gone in 5 minutes. And especially gas stations, like, gas station prices are gross. So it's like $2.30 or 40 cents for like a fucking bag of Airheads or something. For like 5 or 6 Airheads. So I got these Warheads instead, and I've been slow eating them because they're fucking sour. But they're the candy that's like, it's sour for like 10, 15, 20 seconds, and then they go back to just being regular candy. Well, Celine and Co. went out to go find out information on Athena, right? Let me go see. Let me go see the exact part, because they parted ways for it right after they talked about Viernes. Yeah, they went to go look for Athena, but obviously, like, we already found Athena, so maybe we'll see them like involved in the Whiteout cult, and we find out some information over there. Like, what if the Whiteout cult has been operating without Athena there, and it's Viernes? Like, she gets there, and Viernes is also over there, and he's doing a bunch of different, spooky dragon voicing things to these lesser beings that he's manipulating. What are you talking about? Like, if the Signario sisters are dragons, for one, we haven't even seen the fight. And on top of that, who says that it's even going to be their final match? We haven't even gotten to that point yet. Like, we've literally just gotten one of the Signario sisters doing something. And on top of that, that's only in the theory that I have that has to be proven. It's not even something that already is existent. Yeah, sometimes, you stop there to get something, and then you end up getting a candy. What's wrong with that? The only place I know right now you can read it is off of the official site, but you have to buy the chapter. Like any fan sites or anything, you're probably gonna have to wait a little bit for. I mean, this chapter had a lot of just discussionary points that has to do with more of like the understanding of like the magic in the verse, because once we got down to it, like, once you get down to, like, very specific parts of it, it's like Natsu trying to figure out how to do a fire dragon Nord, but he's doing with ice. So he's essentially doing dragon slaying magic still from an ice standpoint, but then he switches to ice make, because Gray is using fire make. So it's like they have, like, an in-between spot. Like, obviously, there's not really as much of an in-between spot with Brandy and Lucy, but so I imagine that there are certain areas where it's like you would be able to, like, if you switch Gray and Laxus, I imagine Gray would be able to do lightning make, because you just have to understand the element, I would assume, and then what you already know about make magic, and then you got it. I had my thing muted. Man, I don't know what point I stopped talking. Let me just go back to what I was saying. I was talking about how... Crap, what was I talking about? I was talking about generally, like, one thing that'll really surprise me is if we don't have more members of Gold Owl show up, like more of Duke's creations. Because these guys don't have to be just like, I'm the number one on this side of the continent. Blah, blah. They give reasons as to why these guys are powerful, because they're man-made. So you can just have them be strong. And on top of that, I feel like because Duke's made him, it would make a lot of sense for him to have a lot. And then on top of that, you can just keep throwing them in. They don't have to really be complex. They literally can just be one-trick power ponies that provide difficulty, but it's more so like they're just going to be like a one-chapter or two-chapter opponent that kind of keep things going. But we don't. It's not like we need 1,000 of them. But I'd like to see them progress. I would like to see another set of minions to where we're gonna have a fight, like where it's like Gray is like an opponent that actually is an opponent for him. Lucy's fighting an opponent that's actually really an opponent for her, not somebody who just does like a little trick move on her that they have to work around. What's funny is like too is like Ganai didn't do as much of a performance as I thought, but Kotetsu actually did a lot more than I thought he was gonna do. I think his alchemy is actually pretty cool. Like he's like it's like he's both a make wizard for iron, but he also has essentially like silver claimer, but for metal, for just general iron and steel. I think that's pretty cool because it's nothing complicated, but I like how he uses it. Like he's got a sword he swings that freely changes into other weapons mid swipe from a distance. I think that's pretty badass. Can't wait to hear OP fans say Merce Phobia is a knockoff Kaido. There'll be people that do that, and then you just show them the dates. Merce Phobia is not a clown like Kaido. The thing about Kaido that's unfortunate is his moveset really is like 90% him like running at you and swinging his club really hard. Like what happened? Like I know he's got other moves, but like what happens if this man loses his club? Like he's gonna lose a majority of his like abilities. Actually, I'm really surprised that Luffy didn't break that club at some point during the fight. I feel like that should have been like a normal thing. I would have liked Kaido in his hybrid form being the part of the finishing move rather than Big Lava Kaido. I think it would have been cooler. Because you have just like him just doing one mega swing. And I think it would have like made Kaido actually look a lot more badass if his end moment, he like just him as the size, it switched over so it's not Luffy, a tiny guy against a giant opponent, is you have Luffy as the big opponent and, you know, Kaido swinging against this massive fist. I think it would have been cool if that's where they clashed, because it would have also made Kaido look a lot better in terms of just hype if his his hybrid form, he's able to stalemate that attack. I know he's doing it anyway, but it's in a different form and style. But I think it would have looked visually more respectful for his character to be doing something more like that. And then you had the freaking club break. That would have been perfect, actually. I'm not a huge fan of how it went down. I like Gear 5. The only thing I don't like about Gear 5 is how some of the fans interpret Gear 5, because they think Luffy actually has Toon Force and he can break, like, rules of fiction, which is ridiculous. Mishima does love Urza, but Mishima knows when to have Urza lose. And it's going to depend, though, is like the Signario sisters so far, the only thing about them that actually puts them in a spot, they have a general scaling, like they have a good position-wise where they should be really strong, but they also have a really good level of alchemy being able to alter the world around them. It's going to depend on, once we actually get to them, what Mishima shows us, because a really good trick for authors is once you can kind of tell the tone that they have for those characters that don't last as long. Genai, Kotetsu, and Sai. Like, Sai's been kept on as a character, but his fights are short, and he clearly is not a very capable character in terms of direct combat. So, you can tell. Like, one is obviously the design, the amount of personality Mishima puts into them. There's way more sides to characters that he likes more. This, like, one thing with Misaki I figured is, like, it's I think it's just because it had to do with the fact that Mishima didn't want to do anything brutal with them, because Diablos and FairyTail were only conflicting based off of misunderstandings rather than, like, just being outright enemies and, like, Diablos being evil, which wasn't the case. But Misaki, the way that when she was fighting Urza, is just, like, she is, like, this sadistic villain. Like, she's like if Minerva was compact into one personality. But then we see her outside of that, and she's chill. It just seems to be how she is when it comes to combat. And when you look at all of the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights, they all had these, like, different areas of their personality that was shown, but also serious sides, and their more aggressive sides as well. And that's one of the things you just got to look for. So Mishima will give them more of a, like, to their personality if he cares about them. So, like, with Gonai and Kotetsu, the way that they were this chapter is the exact same way that they were when they were introduced. Same thing pretty much with Sai. The Signario sisters will probably show us more sides to their personality. As the fights progress, we'll probably find out a little bit more about them. Like, are they concept embodiments? Are they living dolls? Are they dragons, like I believe? It's going to depend. I feel like if they turn into dragons, like, Urza just has to flee. But at the same time, I think it'd be really cool if Urza loses and gets captured. Because one thing I've really liked about 100 Years Quest, and you can notice it in small areas, but Mishima is like taking certain plot lines that I think he set up that he ended up not using, and then is utilizing them with this. Because when you look at them to a degree, Celine and Ignia are very similar to Irene and Acnologia in terms of like their roles. Like, they have way different designs, personalities, backstories, but in terms of their almost role in the story, they're similar in that kind of position. Where Vierne, or like Duke is kind of similar to Ish of maybe like Hades, where Viernez is Zareth. Not the same thing, but it's obviously like, this holy like being above them all. You have to do all this stuff just to even fight in the first place, and he's got all these minions, and one of them can create life, sort of, not really. It just comes down to really certain tweaks and then different directions. Because that's one of the things I've always liked about Mishima is he can take a starting point for an idea, shift it, and then work it into its own thing without having to like, all right, I'm going to just do some 180 where it's the opposite thing that happens. It's like, I can divert into different areas. It's like how he'll constantly have like a parent as some form of adversary, but they're always different. They're always like weirdly warped in some way. Some form of family member that's an enemy, but like they have different roles, and then the characters all interact differently with like dealing with the family member as being an enemy. Urza wins. It's hard to, like I said, it's hard to say. One, I'm not going to take into account the idea of them being dragons because that's the fan theory. But right now, the Signario sisters are more tricky and dangerous. Like, we've only seen one of them really fight, and on top of that, we haven't seen them fight seriously. But what they've been doing doesn't seem as insane, untouchable, like there's no way to hurt them. Because Minerva was a threat to one of them if she got her spell off, but she didn't hit the right target. I don't imagine it would have one-shot her, but I imagine it would have done some damage. Because even like some light damage, like even if it was just like, oh yeah, out of 100 that did 5%. That's still something that Urza could easily work with. Let me see. Also, like the stream. Thumbs up the stream. I really appreciate it. My plan is for the streams, like, they're going to be varied as the weeks go, like, in terms of, like, what day and time exactly. I'm going to get streams out. Like I said, I'm going to get at least 2 streams every week, 2 to 3. And Tuesday, like, this is going to be, like, whenever I can, the for sure stream, where it's going to be starting before the chapter comes out, working towards the chapter, and then going over just generally what happens afterwards. Really appreciate anybody who hasn't can hit that thumbs up, can like the stream. There is a membership there if you want to join and support the channel. We are going to have a community Terraria day coming this week on Saturday. So I mean, if you think it'd be fun to do, come join. Personally, I think Terraria is pretty much the same as like Minecraft, where you can just start anytime you start a new world, as long as you get some people to play with. It's really fun. Always something to do. And then we have we got another 2 weeks for another chapter. My guess is the next chapter is going to start with the Signario sisters. Maybe not that. I think we're going to probably start with like seeing maybe a little bit of the Duke and Natsu fight. Natsu, Duke, Athena. And then we're going to be like going over to the Signario sisters. Or we're going to be, if we move over to Jalal, I think that the Urza fight is going to be off screen. Because if we have more of a focus next chapter on Jalal, I feel like that's purposely just to be showing that events are going on without us just showing what are happening to Urza. Because if that's the case, I think Urza is going to get bodied. Oh, one of the things I was talking about is like older plot points. It's similar to how Mary Jane was captured. If Urza's captured, but the alterations to her are way more so than when she was, turned into a spider lady from Yuko. So we can have something that actually like turns her into an opponent, or maybe something that actually permanently like gives her character something in addition. Like, what if they do something with her where her eye isn't just a glass eye and it has a power now because it has to do with alchemy? I don't know. I'd love to see something that just kind of like really throws a wrench into things and makes things weirder. Funny, Irene, Acnologia, Symbology, passing the torch to Celine. Ignorant. That's what I'm talking about, though. Is there's certain things that have like a slight tone to it that feel like if you whittled it down to very core aspects of the character, and when it comes down to their theming and their design, that that Igni and Acnologia are very similar. I mean, if Urza wins, it won't be an ass pull. So, but the thing is, like, her Nakagami armor has to do with magic. It doesn't have to do with space itself. It has to do with the magic and everything within it. So she's essentially cutting everything within the space that has to do with magic. Her Nakagami armor really is useful when it comes to dealing with opponents that just have a hard magic that she is having trouble getting around. For the Signario sisters, they're using alchemy, though. The thing is the Signario sisters, at least so far, do not seem invincible. Like I said, when Minerva almost caught one of them out, she could have done some really good damage to her, but was unable to. And when you hear stuff like that, it's, okay, well, this character so far is more of a ranged caster. If if Urza can get into a spot where she can actually, like, land a big hit, she might be able to take him down. Because if this is a type of fighter that isn't used to taking damage, they aren't going to have a higher end set of durability and be able to withstand larger scale attacks. But again, that's going to depend on a lot of stuff because we don't know anything about the Signario sisters in depth. We don't know anything about where they're from. We don't know if they're concept embodiments. We don't know if they're dolls. We don't know if they're even human. So it's going to be one of those things that it's going to be waiting for that fight. But I think that with what we've been shown about them is it's not like this is an insurmountable fight with Urza. If Urza has to do two things specifically. She has to dodge the chains that are going to turn her into like a little cat or something. And then she needs to just do counter technique based things. Like she needs to just go into her clear heart armor, put on Benny Zakura, and pay attention. Just be on high alert. If she does something with the ground, jump. If she just tries to spawn something, already have looked for a spot you're going to jump off of, or like have a way that you're going to do it. Like Urza could really do stuff just like summon a shield mid-air and then use it as like a footing point to jump and like have mid-air attacks, like mid-air changements, I guess, rather, in her way she's going to attack. There's a lot she could do if she just works on precision and technique, but Urza ultimately is a utility-based fighter who needs to who gauges her opponent. But I think that what she needs to do here is switch out of utility and just go for technique and skill. Because as she does that, I think that she can have the fight, at least from current set of knowledge. Sam, tell me why it'd be BS. And if you don't give me a logical answer, I'm going to time you out again. Because you don't seem to look at context ever. If we see that, if we can see that somebody like Minerva has the ability to be a threat, then why would Urza not be? We have to look at what we've seen so far. Granted, the Signario sisters could literally just fucking reveal that they're dragons, and then, you know, things get out of hand for Urza. We don't know. What happened when Urza fought Laxus? People were saying the same thing. Urza's gonna win for sure. She's gonna win, and then she lost. What happened there? Calm down. Jesus Christ. Does it make sense? Irene said it's Celine is needed in the future. It's probably to take down the Dragon Gods. I mean, yeah, they need a companion, somebody that's actually going to be able to do things at that high end of a scale. Especially if it comes down to Viernes being more direct. I mean, until they get Viernes out of Gold Owl, they don't even have a way to combat him if he tries to do anything. He literally exists outside of their ability to even, like, hit a target. Like, Viernes just based off of his positioning, too. It just seems like as long as they're in some way in his building, I don't imagine that they're going to be able to directly ever really combat him. If you put Urza and Jalal seriously in a fight against each other, I'm putting my money on Jalal. Like, Mishima's just shown every single time Jalal is a level above where other people are. The only person really that is consistent at being able to show the next step above that is Natsu. Like, you can get mad at it, but Jalal has done it the entire series. It's like people jump to conclusions, and it's always the most negative conclusions, and it's annoying. It's like, bro, can we just fucking wait for the events to happen? Can we just wait for things to occur? We're not even remotely close to that fight. And on top of that, I'm willing to bet if you can't answer, why is it BS? You don't even know how alchemy works in the series. You don't even know how magic works in the series. You don't even know how, context of how characters and abilities interact. You just fucking put your face on the keyboard and say stupid shit. I never get that. I don't get why people just want to waste other people's time. Like, I asked him and he had no answer. I'm just gonna time him out. Every time Sam. It's tiring. It's tiring dealing with overly negative people that don't even want to explain it. So that's where I get annoyed if people don't have context and things that they can answer to. It's like, bro, if you're gonna say shit, that have a reason why I ask you, okay, well, can you explain this? Can you give me a reason as to why you said this? Also, I don't think it necessarily would mean they'd win too quickly. I mean, they'd be able, if Celine was there, they'd be able to beat over people like Duke, Signario sisters and stuff relatively easily. But what does that do for Viernes? Because one, I feel like Viernes would be able just to make another one of them. But if they have no way to get to Viernes, one, Viernes should be able just to keep attacking them and doing stuff without end. And then two, it's going to draw out the biggest player. Think about it, it's like if you had an arc like Grimoire Heart showing up on Sirius Island. One of the ways that they actually were able to win is because it wasn't just a direct head-on-head fight. What if Hades went out there, it's all of them as a group, and they're just, they're doing an Arasion Stace thing where it's unless you separate them, you're gonna have to fight all of them. It's no, they fought individually, which obviously based off of how their guild worked, it's okay, yeah. But when you really look at the characters and see how they are, it's okay, well, if Hades just stayed out there and fought everybody, he's one-shotting everybody that he comes in contact with. So that would be the same thing for Viernes. Though Celine would be able to contend with him, if she's not able to directly fight him, she can't really do anything. And two, if he gets, all he has to do is just kill all the people around and then just leave pretty much Natsu and Celine. Because he's just going to be botting everybody else relatively who doesn't have any way to counter or amp their strength enough to do anything. He's just going to be too much of a monster. But anyway, guys, we're going to be calling it good here. Wrapping up for today. I really appreciate, like I said, everybody who showed up. Sam, I don't know why you keep bringing the negativity out here, man. But it is what it is. For everybody here that is here, I appreciate it. Like I said, Saturday, we're going to have that Terraria day. All you have to do to come play with us, I'm going to post a link to the Discord, is you got to come join the Discord. And then become a member of the channel. There's a join button down there. There's a $1 and $2 setup. All you have to do, it's anybody $2 and up, because that's pretty much just where you become a member of the guild, and you have a spot where you can, do these extra activities. Because this is going to have nothing to do with events in the series and what we talk about during the podcast. It's going to be something completely separate outside of that. That's just kind of for extracurricular events and stuff that's been going on. So we'll look for that. There was another game I actually want to play and do a members-only stream at some point. Or just I guess it'd be just members-only content. Because I had Pokemon, but I got to finish doing that. So we can getting something to Lisa. If anybody who's never played it or knows what it is, just know it's going to be really funny. It's a really funny turn-based RPG game I'm actually really looking forward to playing. Because I've only played through it once, so I'm really looking forward to just having the game experience again. There's a lot of just goofy shit in it that I remember, though. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, guys, I'm going to end it here. Let me just get set up, trying to see how things are going to be set up from here. And then we'll start getting ready for the next one. The next stream, so what's today? I'll have one for sure probably Friday. If I don't have one Thursday, for sure it'll be Friday. And then Saturday, we're going to be doing Terraria in the Discord. So anybody who wants to come join, come join. It's going to be a lot of good times, and we're going to be doing stuff. And if somebody's nice enough, maybe I'll even give some trial runs for anybody that just wants to come play. I know. It'll be a good time, especially with, like, if we can get some, like, as long as people play the game and like, don't ruin it, but, like, try to have as much fun as possible. That's all you ultimately need to do. But it is what it is.